My name is Rosa Luxemburg. I was born in Zamość, Poland. Today it's been designated an LGBT-free zone. Then it was a socialist-free zone. But that didn't stop me.
Rosa Luxemburg joined the socialist underground in Poland at the age of 16. As its leaders were jailed and executed, she fled to Zurich. She was a rising star in the international socialist movement when, in 1898, at the age of 27, she moved to Berlin to take part in the political battle that would define the rest of her life.
Imagine, it's the start of a new century and the German working class has built a mass socialist party. It's led by Marxists, technically in favour of a revolution, and the state is totally undemocratic. What do? Do you focus on the long, slow, patient, parliamentary road to socialism, or do you focus on something that seems quite remote for now, a revolution?
Edward Bernstein, one of the party's leading thinkers, said, "Forget revolution. The working class don't want one. They can't make one anyway because they're too divided by skills and hierarchies. Concentrate instead on the slow drip of reforms like the 8-hour day, democratising the army, or educating the workers." Rosa Luxemburg attacked Bernstein mercilessly.
Between socialism and capitalism, the state is building a steadily rising wall. Only the hammer blow of revolution can break down this wall.
So when Rosa Luxemburg writes about revolution, it's a very wide-ranging concept for her, and it's one that encompasses many areas of life. It is an attempt to think about a world that is not yet here, in which people can imagine themselves as equal, in which there are no oppressions, in which we start from scratch. It's a form that encompasses interhuman relationships, it encompasses gender, it encompasses race, it encompasses everything. But it really is a demand for a world that is not yet here.
In Germany, the reform or revolution debate was still theoretical. But in the Russian Empire, which began just across the border in Poland, it was real. In 1905, workers all over Russia went on general strike. They formed elected councils called Soviets and launched what Rosa Luxemburg had been dreaming of: the revolution. Now, Luxemburg toured Germany, whipping up support for the workers on strike across the Russian Empire, and in December 1905 she took a decisive step. She moved to Warsaw to join the revolution.
My name is now Anna Machka, journalist.
Warsaw was under martial law. There were riots, pogroms and bombings. With the police searching everywhere for left-wing activists, Rosa, together with her partner Leo Jogischer, got caught in a roundup. He was given 8 years hard labour. She was released after 5 months and moved to Finland under yet another false name.
My name is now Felicia Budelovich, journalist.
In Finland, Luxemburg met Lenin and the leaders of the mass strikes that had gripped Russia for over a year. They discussed tactics and the lessons of the 1905 revolution, and she wrote a pamphlet that would shake the moderate leaders of European socialism to their very bones.
The mass strike, the political party and the trade unions.
The reformist leaders said revolutions in Western Europe are premature because the workers aren't educated enough to hold power. education has to happen slowly through night schools and election campaigns. Revolutionaries like Lenin said that can be fixed by having a small underground party of intellectuals to prepare the revolution with underground newspapers and a disciplined organisation. Luxemburg said the mass strike is the bridge between reform and revolution. In a mass strike, workers learn how to run society and they improvise the organisations they need to do it. Nobody can plan it. What the party has to do, once it starts, is lead it to victory.
In the mass strikes in Russia, spontaneity plays such a predominant part, not because the Russian workers are uneducated, but because revolutions do not allow anyone to play the schoolmaster with them. The mass strike is the first natural, impulsive form of every great revolutionary struggle of the proletariat, and the more highly developed the antagonism is between capital and labour, the more effective and decisive must mass strikes become.
For Rosa Luxemburg, the mass strike was a really important concept from the beginning of her working life and through up to her death, really. She really saw the importance of educating people in the struggle in the here and now through political processes themselves. And she saw that both political strikes and economic strikes, and she wrote a lot about the differences between them, are ways in which people can form consciousness together as collectives and can see the potential for revolutionary change.
The party leaders were terrified. The German government threw Luxemburg in jail for, they said, inciting a riot. But her ideas were contagious.
Before 1905, the whole idea of a revolution in a developed country had seemed remote. Now, Rosa Luxemburg pushed right into the centre of the conversation the idea of spontaneous action. A revolution not prepared by years training in a night school, nor by a small conspiratorial group, but arising out of the experience of working class people themselves.